What is going on, guys? It is Eldon the Noble here for the Spacefarer's Atlas, and the day has finally came. We have finally gotten to see Starfield, got to see the mechanics, the gameplay, features, just a lot of different things, about a 15-minute presentation, and we will go over that in this video, the bad, the good, and everything in between. But in the future, I will be making videos, plenty of videos, breaking down the good and the bad. So if you're interested in those things and the deep dives, make sure you subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into it. So right off the bat, I want to go ahead and get through the things that I think are bad, and go ahead and get that out of the way so we can get to the more exciting things. The first thing that I thought was a little lackluster, especially in the beginning of the presentation, was the graphics, especially outside. Now, you know, it is a BGS RPG. They're not known for their graphics, and that's perfectly fine. It's not a big deal to me, but for those that are maybe expecting cutting-edge graphics or things to look really gorgeous in 2022, but when the game releases in 2023, do not get your hopes up. I think it looks perfectly fine, but don't expect the graphics to be a shiny point here. Another thing that I thought kind of worries me, towards the beginning, we saw some manual mining. The main character going up and with his tool in his hand, mining some ore of some sort. Now, that worries me because it's a BGS game, not No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is great in its own right, but it would not be good for a BGS game loop to be spending a lot of time going to different places and manually mining as it showed there. So, hopefully, that's just a little side thing that if you want to kill some time, you can. But maybe it might be like Satisfactory, where you can do it a little bit, but it becomes much more efficient by putting machines on those ores, things like that. I don't know, but hopefully there's not much manual mining. Now, another thing I thought was kind of interesting is that if you watch the entire 15-minute presentation, most of these ships, like the enemy ships and other ships, all looked almost the exact same. They looked very, very similar. Now, I'm not sure why that is, but hopefully, you know, when we get into the game, we will see much better variety of ships in the appearance. Another thing, and I was hoping for big things in colony building, and I was hoping for more of a colony building than outpost building, but what we ended up getting was outpost building. Now, the reason I was hoping for colony building and the difference between the two is outpost is usually a single purpose, you know, led by one person type of thing, whereas a colony is more of a city with many different people and purposes. And that's what I was hoping for more of Fallout 4 settlement, but expanded to be like a colony and a living, breathing city. With this, I feel like it's more, you know, outpost. You'll be able to hire people, but I just don't think it'll quite be the same. So I was a bit disappointed with that. And another thing is kind of now getting into the middle. It's not bad, but somewhere in the middle is the dogfighting. I mean, right at, you know, taking it at face value in the trailer, it looks decent, but I am worried because it is BGS. They do not do vehicles. This is something they've never attempted before. And when it comes to doing things action like this, their first few attempts are usually clunky. Like, I can imagine it being clunky like the gunplay it was from Fallout 3. Now, that's not what the game's about, and you know what? If it ends up being that clunky, I don't think that very many people are going to hold that against it. At least I would hope not. So those were kind of the things that I saw that were bad or kind of middle, things maybe I was disappointed with. But now going into the good, because there is so much good here. The good definitely outweighs the bad, and even the things that are bad aren't that bad. So, like I said before, I will be making videos breaking down these different things, deep diving into each of these, because there's a lot to deep dive in, and we're just doing a brief overview. So in no particular order, the UI for the character creation and weapon modding looks incredible. I don't know what it is about it. I cannot really put it into words, but there's something about it that just looks timeless and classic, and I think that will look good for many, many years to come. Like, it's a good, smooth, simple, just a very good, satisfying looking UI for both of those, especially the weapon modding. The gunplay looks smooth and amazing. Like, I'm a person that, I don't know, gunplay is not huge of a priority, but like in Fallout 4, I do a lot of VATS because I'm not good at gunplay, and the gunplay in Fallout 4 is much better than Fallout 3, but the gunplay in this looks much better than Fallout 4, so I'm looking forward to testing that out. The sound of the ballistic gun in the beginning was very enjoyable and satisfying to me. Well, towards the beginning. The first time you shoot a gun, it was a ballistic gun, and that had a very satisfying sound to it. Continuing on, settlement building, the outpost, you know, it's a two-sided coin. So even though I'm upset that it's not more of a settlement or colony building than an outpost, I am excited that it's in the game at all, right? I'm excited that it's there. It is something I'm very much looking forward to, and the mods for it. It's going to make some great mods. Another thing that I hope enough people noticed is the lockpicking minigame. That looks like fun, and I could see that the harder difficulties of that actually being a puzzle and its own minigame. Because right now, the lockpicking, like in Fallout 4 and Skyrim, was even on the more difficult way, you could just, I don't know, it wasn't that difficult, it just required more patience. This actually can be difficult and requires a little bit more of a puzzle approach, and I like that. That adds a variety of gameplay to it, and so I'm looking forward to that. Another thing, the background and trait system looks really in-depth, and I think that will lead to many, many different playthroughs. For instance, you can align from the start with different factions or religions, where you get bonuses to one faction, but it shuts off other factions. So that's going to clearly lead to many different playthroughs, and I think that's going to end up being really great. I can't wait to see how that impacts the world and the different kind of gameplays, playthroughs you can do. Activities and skill points. So I don't know if everyone caught this, but this is pretty amazing and goes back to some of what they spoke before about, going back to the old school RPG things that they did that they haven't done since Oblivion. And this is one of those where the more you do something, the better you get at it. And that is great for RPGs. So for instance, the more you use grenades, you can level it up, and the better you will be at grenades, the more efficient, the more damage it will do. And I think that's just amazing and will allow for some really in-depth playthroughs, and I'm just really excited about that. We also saw a wide variety of outfits and how you can make your character look. That's not surprising, but it was cool to see, you know, really traditional sci-fi looking stuff, but then things that look more Western, things that made you look more like police. I mean, it was really cool variety to see. Another thing in terms of characters is that it has way better facial animations than anything BGS has ever had. Like, this is light years better than the past few games. I mean, as people said things and they react, you could see them reacting to what they were saying in a way that made sense to what they were saying. Instead of just keeping a blank face, they reacted as they said. So if they got excited, their face lit up. And that was really, really, really cool to see. I'm excited to see that. Weapon modding is making a comeback, which, you know, seems to be a given with how many people love that in Fallout 4 and, you know, Fallout 76, and even in Skyrim you had your weapon crafting. I mean, and before that even. So it makes sense, but it does look really awesome. You can have like multiple barrel mods. You can have multiple, just in every aspect. You can have multiple, it seems like, of the different parts of your gun, and so I'm just looking forward to seeing how that will end out. Now, the biggest thing I think surprised the most people, I think is probably the biggest thing that surprised the most amount of people, is ship building. Building out your ship for different purposes, you know, and just being able to just really design your ship how you want to. It looks incredible, and I'm looking forward to experiencing that. I'm sure we will get a DLC that is related to that, and the huge variety of mods that will come with that. I'm sure somebody, like I've said before, talking about Star Wars with this, it won't be long before somebody's made a mod and you're flying around in the Millennium Falcon, things like that. It's going to be awesome. But hand in hand with that is something I predicted. And I've been saying it for a while now, and as far as I know, I have been the only one saying anything about it. And that is having a crew for your ship. Now, in that gameplay, we saw that it'll be at least 10. You'll be able to have at least 10 crew members. And that's pretty huge. Now, I could spend some time talking about that, but that will be one of the first few videos I make based on that. But it's going to be pretty huge, and it's going to be something unparalleled for a BGS game. Another thing that we got confirmation of and we got to see is manual flight and dogfighting. I know a lot of people were excited about that. I'm excited to see it, especially because you're customizing your ship. It would make sense to be able to manually fly and be able to dogfight. But at the same time, that's not really why I play the game. So even if it's clunky, regardless of the state it comes out, it won't have too much of a bearing on me. Especially if there's like an auto flight. Especially if you can do auto flight, say dogfighting, or just focus where all you're using are missiles. And they're guided, and you don't have to worry about really dogfighting. I think that could be pretty interesting. But, kind of wrapping up and looking at these things, seeing everything, my original prediction for a release date was 3/3/23. I think it was sounded like a good date. Seemed like something Todd Howard would go for. But seeing the scale and having so many NPCs in your ship as you are blasting through space, knowing how buggy BGS games can be, I am wanting them to take as much time as needed. So I am hoping to actually see it more like April or May to make sure they can get it right and that there are no game-breaking bugs at launch or anything like that. So let me know in the comments what you were looking, what excited you the most and what you were looking forward to experiencing the most, as well as maybe something you didn't like. If there was anything you didn't like, definitely let me know down in the comments. So, like I said before, that about wraps everything up. If you're excited about Starfield like I am, make sure you subscribe because I will be having a lot of videos come out. And now we're ready to take our first steps through the stars.